All right, guys. Hey, back. Thanks for joining. We're going to do some Navion talk today. So today, we're going to talk about, one, why the Navion's so great. We talk about that all the time. Anybody that's watched any of my other videos on here know why I think that. And then show what happens when we do not follow checklists and we get complacent in airplanes. So one, you guys have all heard me say, I think the Navion aircraft as a whole is probably the single best single engine piston retract airplane out there. It's a comfortable, roomy, very capable airplane. Gets in and out of short places and it has a huge variety of engines. These started off as 185 horsepower engines. I think the original one of the prototype airplanes had a 165 horsepower engine, but they started production with 185 horse, went to a 225 horse, went to just about every other flavor engine out there. So this airplane here behind us, customer airplane that had a interesting situation, and a lot of Navions have had this situation. So this airplane was out training some pilots. So it had a flight instructor on board, a Navion pilot on board that hadn't flown in quite some time, and another student that was getting complex high performance. They'd been flying it around for a handful of hours, came into an airport and got out, checked some stuff out, and took off on auxiliary tip tank. So as you can see there, the auxiliary tip tank, as we look around here, we can see that we've got a wing set behind us. Now this wing set behind us doesn't look all that bad of a wing set, and I'm going to show you some stuff here in a little bit. But one of the big things with the Navion is it has a lot of flaps, and there's this flap behind you there. You can kind of see that on the ground. So with these big flaps, and they go 40 degrees, that gives you a lot of stability on an approach. There's actually so much flap here that conventional airplanes, when you put in flaps, they don't change a whole lot. A Navion really pitches over if you're flying it correctly. So when you pitch that airplane over, when you go full flaps on that kind of short final, and you're on a tip tank there, these are Osborne tip tanks, 20-gallon tip tanks, the fuel sloshes to the front of that tank. Well, the pickup, if you look here on this tank, is actually more towards the center of that tank. So that's the fuel pickup there on this tank. So when if you don't have full tanks in this and you go full flaps, this airplane noses over. Or when we're taking off, because of the 100-mile-an-hour gear and flap speed on this, we really pull the nose up, especially when they have more than 225 horsepower. This airplane has 260 horsepower. It's an IO 470. So we really pull that nose up to hold that 90 mile an hour to get the gear and flaps up. When we do that, the fuel sloshes to the back of the tank. So that's what happened on this particular airplane. The fuel sloshed to the back of a tank. By the time the engine quit, it's typically a couple hundred feet. The engine quit on this, and the rest is kind of in the history books. Now, there's a lot of things that can be taken away from this this situation. So, one, if you're out there training in a Navion or you're teaching in a Navion, there's not a lot of people out there that do teach in a Navion, but if you are teaching in a Navion, or you're an old Navion pilot and you're just trying to stay proficient when you're doing your biannual, or I can't say biannual anymore, your flight review, okay, we'll say that. You should always practice that. So when we line up on the runway, runway verified, everything looks good, take off, and we should mentally touch where the boost pump is and that the fuel's on the main, right? So we don't have these issues. Now, there's a potential that on this airplane, if they would have hit the boost pump and went back to the main and kind of held that best glide speed, this airplane would have started back up and would have flown around, and they could have went back and figured it out or kept flying. That didn't happen on this. With all of the education with a CFI on board and an old-time Navion pilot, we do get complacent, and I feel that kind of is what happened on this particular flight. There was some complacency there, and we took off, or I wasn't in the airplane, but the airplane took off, and missed a couple key cues. Everybody walked away, landed kind of on the grass there, and some brush there. Uneventful landing, but the airplane did sustain some damage to the landing gear. Now, the damage to that landing gear, as you look at this airplane here, like I said, the wings don't look all that bad until we start looking real close. So if we look here, we see a row of rivets that have pulled, okay? Just so happens this is the back side of where the rear trunnion for that main landing gear falls into place. So there's some other telltale signs on the wingtip and underneath, but most of it is heavily inside of this. So even though they made a good, safe landing, the brush and the pressure of that brush on the gear actually ripped the trunnion bearings out of the inside of this wing. So to rebuild this wing set didn't make much sense. There's a lot of Navions out there. There's a lot of parts out there. We opted to do a whole nother wing set on this, but I'm going to climb underneath and I will show you a little bit of that, what happened, because it doesn't look like much from here, but it does. So if you look up in there, you can see, let me get a good angle and get the light. Sorry for the bad camera. So you kind of see that. You can see where that's been tore out there. That's the link there on that. And then the trunnions up in there, kind of the same thing all the way across. So you can see a lot of that that damage there on the link and kind of coming through. So, you know, being prepared for that, you know, the gear's good, all that type of thing. But both sides, you can see some damage up there on the back side of that. And if we come over here and look there, we can kind of see the same things up there and all the way over. So damage that is preventable, you know, but we can't get complacent. Yes, there are a lot of you guys out there that have thousands of hours in Navions. But at the end of the day, there's a reason why those flight reviews are important. There's a reason why our checklists are important. I'm not a checklist guy. I'm the first one to say that. I'm a flows guy, but those flows need to be ran just like a checklist. When you line up on a runway, you need to verify runway heading. You need to verify all the things that your flaps are in the right configuration, your fuel pumps are on or off, your fuel valves are in the right configuration before that takeoff. You don't have any gust locks in, you know, I mean, some of those things will go out and bite you there. You know, we're taking an airplane that's 80 years old, you know, and flying these all over everywhere. And it's still a great airplane. But we make the airplane look bad when we do bonehead stuff like what happened to this airplane here. Learning experience, not a big deal at the end of the day. Cost some money, kind of do that and get it in the shop, get it up and going and those types of things. But things to always watch out for and look for is those situations and what and how and why we want to go and do that. So even though this was a non-event, you know, we want to stop this from happening. We could all stop that, or we could cut way, way back, right? Making sure the fuel's on the main, huge, huge, huge. Making sure the landing gear is down, the other big one. You know, when you look back in the history of Navions, you know, those are the two big gotchas in Navion accidents is making sure the gear is down and locked. Again, we do it so much and so often, we get complacent on running a gumps check. I teach a gumps check, you know, 3 times. We teach a gumps check downwind, base, final, to make sure it was the way I was taught. You know that. You check it 3 times, you're always got it, and you're touching it, not running through the motions and saying that. Say the same thing in the King Air. We say the same thing in jet. We say the same thing in seaplanes. Anything that we fly, we say the exact same thing. We could be out in, you know, a Bushmaster with backcountry tires on it, and we run through and do those types of things. So that's what I've got here today. Think about that. we will go through and I'll get you some more videos and go from there. Have a wonderful day. Go fly your Navion.